Good morning. Welcome to the conversation on TOS Television Network. And as always, we're reaching you from Nigeria's capital city, and that is Abuja. And of course, it's a bright day here in the capital. Today, Tuesday, 17th of August, I beg your pardon, 2021. And my name is Ade Suwasi.
And I am Sagir Ibrahim. Thank you so much for joining us on the show.
Yes, good morning, Sagir. Good morning. It's good to see you.
Good to see you too.
So I wasn't on the show yesterday with you. How did it go?
Yes, you weren't. Oh, the show went well.
Yeah.
And how did the symposium go?
Very well. It was amazing. Quite insightful, actually.
Yes.
So it was my first TOS Symposium.
Oh, okay.
And then so it was worth it, really. And I also had the opportunity, to interact with some of persons, in positions of authority, and also, regular persons, regular citizens like us that were there.
Yes.
And then it was quite insightful having to see these people, and then these people come together to have a conversation that's important.
Okay. Well, I learned a lot as well because, it was an opportunity to bring the ruling class as well as the ruled together in one place to talk about issues that touches the core of our existence as a people and as a nation, especially the ongoing constitution review. So it's necessary to drive these conversations to ensure that these issues that has been causing the hindrances or causing a divide as a people and as a nation are addressed once and for all to foster unity, to foster democracy, and to foster the rule of law. So it was quite an educative and inciting one for me as well.
Anyone listening to Sagi right now would not know what he did at the gala yesterday.
Well, on the lighter note, that's he was black ties,
he would not know what you did at the gala yesterday. I'm going to just keep that.
No, I didn't do much.
No problem. I'm going to keep that between both of us and let us just do the show. So we're going to bring you, the quote of the day, and after that we'll be looking at stories, our developments from across Africa.
There are certain moments in the day when I need my me time to just unwind and indulge.
What is this?
The Cadbury goodness is in every pack of Cadbury 3-in-1 hot chocolate, making you feel cheerful and pleasant. Enjoy the Cadbury goodness.
Getting right into the story, starting, with Cameroon. So Cameroon has reactivated its fight against terrorism, and it's training new militias against new terrorism ideologies. So to combat terrorism on Cameroon's northern border with Nigeria, President Paul Biya has sent his top military officials and a governor to reactivate old militias and create new ones. The militias are, for the first time, to tell people about what the government said is a new strategy by the Islamic State in West Africa province, or ISWAP, to attract supporters away from rival Boko Haram and attacking only military positions.
And back to Nigeria here. Nigeria lost 17.6 billion naira to tax evasion in 2015. A report by the Senate Committee on Public Accounts on the Federation Accounts for the year 2015, which was approved by the Senate before proceeding on annual recess, disclosed. The unrecovered taxes, the Red Chamber said, are made up of value-added tax VAT, company income tax CIT, withholding tax WHT, education tax EDT, and NIT-DEF.
I was going to ask you if you pay your tax, but
of course I'm a taxpayer.
I think I know that you do pay your tax. So yeah, moving away from that, the updates on COVID-19. So former British Prime Minister Gordon Brown is advocating that the US, British and Italian leaders must hold an emergency summit before the UN General Assembly to end vaccine inequality and send more shots to Africa and other low-income nations. He appealed to US President Joe Biden, British Prime Minister Boris Johnson, and Italian Prime Minister Mario Draghi, chair of the group of 20 wealthy nations, to hold the summit before September, when world leaders will take part in the UN's General Assembly. And I think this is quite important because this is what we're saying. In as much as we're looking towards, Africa developing its own vaccine and getting, the license and all to do that. But while we are waiting, we cannot keep having vaccine shortages and all of that. So it's important that we have, these countries, wealthy nations, so-called wealthy nations, support the drive against COVID-19 in Nigeria. Send Africa, basically, just send vaccines to countries. Because I know countries are all short of vaccine. Kenya is short of vaccine. These other countries are having to donate part of their own stock that they need to other African countries, and then in the long run also being short of these vaccines and all of that. So we just need this support and these contributions to keep happening.
Well, that's true anyways. And we need to address the issue of the inequality, like you said, because as you know, a lot of countries here in Africa are in their third wave of the coronavirus pandemic, and multiplication by the Delta wave, which is even more deadly. And even scientists are still tinkering around whether the current vaccines they have is effective enough to control the spread of the Delta wave of COVID-19. So I read a funny caption somewhere, said, "What doesn't kill you mutates and tries to kill you again." That's just the reality
how it
of
is,
the
of
Delta strain of the COVID-19.
The COVID-19 itself, basically.
So that's why we just need to adhere to the guidelines. It's really important.
It's really important.
What doesn't kill you as regards to COVID-19 does not make you stronger. It mutates, comes back, and try again. And that's why we have the Delta wave of the coronavirus. So it is important while we await for the vaccines to come and achieve a little bit of equality as to vaccines available for Africa as against the rest of the world, we need to ensure we pay our own responsibility by taking care of ourselves. How do we do that? Consistent hand washing, using face masks, hand sanitizers, and ensuring that we social distance to ensure that the spread is minimized to the barest minimum. Take responsibility.
Okay, having said that, COVID-19 updates from across Africa. And after that, we'll be looking at front pages of Nigerian dailies this morning.
My son has always dreamt of being in the spotlight.
As his mother, it is my duty to help him live up to his dream.
That's why I give him Bornvita every day,
which contains iron, zinc, and vitamin C that supports his immunity and gives him the strength to pursue his dreams. Bornvita, strength to dream.
North to South Africa, East to West Africa, TOS TV Network is your digital-first Pan-African news network, bringing you news from across the continent. Visit our website www.tostvnetwork.com and follow us on social media at TOS TV Network on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Watch us on television, channel 138 on TSTV Africa.
also watching the conversation on your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS Television, and you could be part of the conversation by connecting with us on our various social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TOS TV Network. You could also watch the conversation via our website at www.tostvnetwork.com. You could also stream some of our content as well as watch a recap of the conversation on our YouTube page at TOS TV Network. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It is the newspaper headline segment of the conversation, and this morning we will be starting with the Guardian newspaper from the very top, which states doctor strike continues as court adjourns case till September 15. And beside that, we see bandits kill 30, abduct 15 in Zamfara, Katsina, Kaduna. That could be found on page 5. Anambra PDP unveils Advisory Council, Elders Forum Campaign Committee for Ozigbo, and that could be found on page 7. IPOP suspended sit at home still grounds businesses in Southeast, and that could be found on page 7 as well. For the banner headline on the Guardian newspaper, we'll see PIB assent, mixed feelings, fresh challenges, trial legislation. OPEC says it will open door to new investments, host communities kick, decry exclusion. PDP decries presidential assent despite outcry, seeks urgent amendment. Beside the picture of the day there, we see WHO alert to fake COVID-19 vaccines as FG receives more doses, begins vaccination. There are a couple of other riders underneath that story, and beside that we see a picture underneath the picture of the day there, as well a picture of the day of the U.S. aircraft which was grounded at Afghanistan when it went to take troops, and we see Afghanis, running after the plane, trying to get on to flee the nation as well. Quite unfortunate. Finally, we see just crisis rages as governor restates imposition of curfews.
Away from that to the Daily Times newspaper, the very first headline there says, it's better Nigeria breaks up if we're going to keep killing each other. And that's me last year saying that. Beside that, strike. Be patient with us, resident doctors beg Nigerians. Pension retirees deserve better treatment. And the banner headline on the Daily Times newspaper says, on a petroleum industry bill, knocks kudos trail Buhari's accent. The last headline on the Daily Times newspaper, federal government to borrow 5.62 trillion naira to finance 2022 budget deficit.
On the Daily Trust newspaper this morning, we see how bandits abduct 15 students, 5 staffs from Zamfara College. Encomium says IBB clocks 80 today. Why third force would be difficult in 2023, and that's by NABA. For the banner headline there, we see NNPC, PEF, PPPRA to go as Buhari signs PIB into law. A couple of riders underneath the headline there. Assent major victory for Nigeria, and that's by the National Assembly. We're sure no job losses, that's by Nupeng. Get right persons to implement act, and that's according to experts. PDP Pandev kicks as OPEC, others hail action. Beside the picture of the day there, we see high taxes pushing SMEs mortality rates. That's by the Vice President Yemi Oshibajo. We won't allow Plateau return to days of religious crisis, by the Governor of Plateau State, Simon Lalong. And we also see 1,178 lives lost as cholera spread to 23 states. And for the final headline on the Daily Trust newspaper, COVID-19, 8 workers at risk as Buhari flouts isolation guidelines. President truly isolating, and that's according to his aide, and could be found on page 4 of the Daily Trust newspaper.
Looking at the front page of the Blueprint newspaper, the very first headline says Nigeria recorded $85.21 billion net foreign liabilities, and that's from the IMF. Underneath that, banks borrowing from CBN hit 489 billion naira. Senate hails Buhari on assent to PIB. Act will stimulate investment, open up economy. Economists saying that President ought to have listened to public outcry, and that's coming from the PDP. Federal government unveils 4 airports for concession. The banner headline, it's on IBB at 80, says some people will cut my neck for supporting resource control. 4 riders underneath that one. Buhari, Lawan, others salute ex-president. His intellectual death, indicative of coup he survived. Iwanyang was saying that he's a quintessential statesman, that's from the PDP, emulate IBB's virtues, Blueprint publisher urges youth. Underneath that, Zamfara, bandits burn mother, infant, 11 others to death. 15 agri college students, 4 staffers abducted, 4 security agents killed, 3 killed in Zangon Kataf attack, and that's on page 5. Flood submerges houses in Makurdi, displaces families. Court adjourns federal government resident doctor's suit to September 15. Ondo losses federal lawmaker Akeredolu PDP mourn. And the last one is on Plateau killing. Condemnation alone not enough. NEF tells Buhari in Lalong.
For the Business Day newspaper, which is indeed the last newspaper on the newspaper segment, 2023, Nigeria's next president faces biggest test since 1999. Underneath the picture of the day there, we see Facebook-backed cable to land in Nigeria, 3 others. Pension industry sees more M&As as recapitalization intensifies. 5 major changes expected as Buhari signs PIB. We see the picture of the day there where President Muhammadu Buhari signed the petroleum industry bill into law at the presidential villa in Abuja yesterday. And that's it for the newspaper headline segment of the conversation. We'll go on a quick break now, and when we return, we will be bringing you the big story.
Whatever your size, find it with the new Airtel data plans. Dial *141# now to get the plan that suits you. Airtel, the smartphone network.
At the first sign of pain, you need a solution that you can trust to provide effective relief and is gentle on the stomach. Try Panadol Caplets for relief from headaches, body aches, and fever. With Panadol's Optizorb formula, the tablet gently breaks down in the stomach, quickly absorbs, and starts providing pain relief in 15 minutes. For fast and effective pain relief that you can trust, try Panadol Caplets. This has been Medifact for Panadol.
You're also watching the conversation on your digital first Pan-African News Network, TOS TV. And to connect with us on the conversation here, you could simply check us out on our various social media platforms on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at TOS TV Network. You could also watch the conversation via our website at www.tostvnetwork.com, as well as check out some of our other content and watch a recap of the conversation via our YouTube page at TOS TV. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It is the big story segment, and this morning's focus is going to be on State of the Nation, the People's Constitution. As a matter of fact, a recap of the TOS Symposium of yesterday. Yes, so joining us this morning to discuss via telephone is Mr. Njoko Emmanuel, and he is the Programs Manager at Connected Development. Good morning, Mr. Emmanuel.
Yeah, good morning. Good morning, and thanks for having me.
Yes, you're welcome. So you were a panelist at yesterday's symposium where issues surrounding the nation was discussed, including what constitutes the People's Constitution. So can you please tell us your major takeout from the event?
Yeah, so for me, the major takeout, yes, it was a good event, and I'm glad that we are having this conversation, and I hope we'll sustain this conversation so we can actually have the People's Constitution. So for me, the takeout yesterday was that from all the participants and even the audience, the takeout for me was that the constitution we have is deficient. The constitution Nigeria is using now is sick. The constitution we are using now needs to either be totally overhauled, replaced, or serious amendments that will capture the aspirations of Nigerians needs to be made urgently.
Okay.
Yeah, so that was my takeout.
All right. So the next question I would want to ask is, so we've seen the body language of the current National Assembly over the last couple of months, as well as the last couple of weeks. Now, bearing in mind that just a few weeks ago to a month ago, we saw how they treated the electronic transfer of results. So would you say that you have confidence in the current National Assembly to carry out the amendments that Nigerians feel will be effective enough to meet with their current realities?
Yeah, so that's the biggest challenge that as a nation that we'll have in having a people's constitution.
Okay.
I do not trust the people who are the beneficiaries of the system to be the ones to also, limit what they benefit from this system as it is. So talking about the National Assembly, I cannot trust the National Assembly that who prefers the manual transmission of election results from polling units to be the ones who will lead on this conversation around having a people's constitution. I cannot trust the National Assembly, who at the time when we are talking about reducing cost of governance, the same National Assembly is the National Assembly that is putting pressure on Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, to do the electoral constituency delineation. So by delineation, it means creating out more constituencies, which means having more having more House of Rep members and having more senators in the country, which will equally mean, more expenses for the government.
Yeah.
So this is the reason why the efforts that have been made in the past, in 2005 by President Olusegun Obasanjo then, who set up a national political reform committee to work on the constitution, and even in 2014 national confab that was set up by Goodluck Jonathan.
Yeah.
These are the reasons why they didn't work. Because after all of that money has been spent, first of all, there is no law, there's no legal framework that gives strength to all of those committees. So once they bring it to National Assembly, they are trying to take out food from their mouth. They will kill it. They will use time and ensure that the administration loses power and it dies. So I cannot trust the same National Assembly to be the ones who will lead. So you see, every time they do a constitutional amendment, they do surface constitutional amendment. But there are serious issues that if the National Assembly and if our political actors are serious about fixing this nation, they should focus on it. Yesterday, I talked about one issue our criminal finance laws. Our criminal finance laws are so terrible and so weak, which is why it is so difficult and almost impossible to secure conviction of any public office in the past or presently in the office. From our executive to the civil service, it's almost impossible to secure a conviction of corruption all over them because there are too many loopholes on which these people leverage on the technicalities to avoid being convicted. If we have a serious nation that understands that corruption is the biggest issue that we have that affects every facet of life in Nigeria, I would expect that there will be drastic change and drastic amendment on our criminal finance laws. If possible, put out... So a lot of people that voted in President Buhari in 2015, I don't blame them. They may have seen that they made a wrong electoral choice, in my own way, in my perception. But then most of them were also wishing that they will have a better Nigeria. Yeah. They trusted that this Buhari will be a president that will come and bring up serious criminal finance laws that will put people behind bars, if possible, death sentences. Because issue of corruption and stealing state resources is a big issue. It's affecting people across the border, from people that have retired, pensioners, health institutions, primary health care centers, public schools. Nothing is basically working. And this is because there are people pilfering and stealing government resources. Such people should be sentenced to death. That way, you are seeing that something serious and drastic is being done about changing Nigeria. So the constitution we have now promotes and encourages corruption, promotes and encourages disunity, promotes and encourages, lack of peace. And what is the motto of Nigeria, like I talked about yesterday? Nigeria's motto is unity and faith, peace and progress. But the constitution as we have it has made us so divided. There is no faith in this country. People don't have faith in this country. Everybody wants to leave Nigeria. There is no peace. And clearly there is no progress. We can't say we have progress. We've gone so backward. So really, I think and I really believe that we can change the constitution if we have the political will from the level of the president, who I think should send an executive bill to the National Assembly that will give room for a referendum in the constitution we have. Afterwards, he can now set up a committee that will look at the constitution that we have, look at the 2005 report of President Obasanjo's constitution reform, look at 2014 national confab, and make input and come out with a document that Nigerians will vote on the strength of the law that has been made of referendum. That way it becomes a new constitution.
Okay.
If we continue to dwell on this constitution that is not the people's constitution, well, we will keep going around in circles. And years to come, we will still be talking about the need for a new constitution.
Okay, it's good that you spoke about the president having the powers to send an executive bill to the National Assembly, because I was going to ask that, looking at the constitution we have today, I mean, the constitution does not even create a foundation. It might have created foundations for amendments, but however, it might not necessarily have the foundation created for scrapping and rewriting a new constitution. So I was going to ask you how the country was going to go about that. Now, however, with the National Assembly and with all of the things you've said about how the National Assembly has stifled, various opportunities the nation has had to carry out proper amendments of the constitution, how are we sure that we're not going to experience the same if the president should send an executive order?
So that is where that is where lobbying comes into place. Okay. This is where I expect the government to even play the party politics, because the president is from a particular party, APC. The Senate president is APC. The Speaker of the House is APC. The majority in the House, they are APC. Yeah. So this is the part where I expect the president to use all of his strength and force and the strategies and lobbying and party mechanisms to get the National Assembly to pass the executive bill that will become law, that gives room for people to make inputs. We are working on literally on no foundation. A constitution that a couple of intelligence soldiers just copied from 1979 constitution and added up some things and brought it out as a government without people's input is not the people's constitution. Like I said, I am personally disappointed, though not surprised, that in the past 22 years of this very democracy since 1999, we are still going around in circles talking about a constitution that the people didn't make an input on. The preamble of the constitution says, we, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Which we? Are you part of the we? Your parents, are they part of the we? Your state people and your kinsmen, are they part of the we? There is no we. So it's even an illegality. How can a country? So it says a lot why the nation is going the way it's going. How can a country be running on a document that a contract that is not binding, a contract that a few persons, some military boys, put together and gave us as a nation, and 22 years after, we do not still have the political will. 22 years after, 4 presidents, from Obasanjo to President Yar'Adua of blessed memory, to Goodluck Jonathan, to President Muhammad Buhari of today, who still don't have the political will to do the needful in having a people's constitution. It explains so much why we are where we are at this time.
Interesting.
All right. Thank you so much, Mr. Emmanuel, for joining us on the conversation this morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. It's such a pleasure to have you. And thank you for staying with us until this time on the conversation. Don't forget that we'll be back here same time tomorrow. But before we then, follow TOS TV Network across all social media platforms. That's TOS TV Network on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and of course subscribe to the channel on YouTube. You can also stream our content on www.tostvnetwork.com. My name is Adesu Suyi.
And I am Sagir Ibrahim. Thank you so much for watching. See you tomorrow and stay safe.